why things don't shrink equally with distance, and why the bottoms will shrink drastically quicker than the tops. These nails are the observer. Close, further and further from the building, from the bottom too. He's equal to the first floor. He's in between the first floor and the top of the second floor. So he's in the middle between the two floors. You notice he's got this wide angle here when he's close up. Well, that also gives him a wide angle down here to the ground. Now, as it moves further away, this wide area becomes much narrower. And because you can see this angle drops down, right? So these two, the one going to the bottom and one to the top, they're compressing with distance. And they compress drastically from here. And then even more here. These are the lines that bring things to your center of your vision as you move away. You'll see it in a smaller space the further you get. Now we're going to show you how the angles from the top change differently. The ones at the bottom keep getting smaller and smaller as they go away at the vertex. The vertex, vertex, vertex. Okay, now we still have our observer in the same place from the same starting position. To the top here, he's got a narrow angle compared to what the bottom had, a big wide angle to these two. And it starts off narrow. Now you have an angle to the surface here too, to the side of the building. It's very narrow right here. But that is called foreshortening, because the closer the angle to a surface, the more foreshortened the information will be in that area. Now, as the observer stays at the same elevation, moves further away, you notice the vertex at this angle increases a little bit. It actually gets wider. Why? Because this angle now gets wider. Here was the first one. Here's the second one. It's much wider. So you increased the distance, and this became wider here. So with increased distance, you changed your angle of view and made it wider. I call that reverse foreshortening. Now you get to the third one. You're further away yet. It's even wider than here. This one is wider than this one. This one is wider than this one at the vertex. This one is narrow, or this one is narrow right here. This one is wider, and the last one is even wider. So as you move away, the bottom or the top stories actually increase in size. They don't decrease because you've reversed the foreshortening effect. So your vertex down here at the bottoms, at the distance, became wider, whereas the ones on the bottom kept getting narrower. So the ones at the bottom are diminishing faster than the ones at the top, which are actually getting bigger. Now you do have the angle change, which this angle is not as steep as this angle, which is not as steep as this angle. So that's bringing everything down, And yet you still see more of the surface area here with distance because this is increased. This is why bottoms of mountains, bottoms of buildings, bottoms of ships all become smaller quicker than the tops. That's why they will become unresolvable quicker. There's no getting around any of this. This can probably also be applied to things like Polaris, right? Your angles are going to behave similar. So anyhow, do with whatever you want with this. Nobody thought it was possible, but it is. It's reverse. It's the reverse foreshortening effect. That's what I'm going to call it. Okay, pretend this is looking up at a building instead of sideways. Just pretend you're looking up. Look at these two sections right here from these poles. From a distance, it was a narrow field of view, but as I get closer, it's too wide. I can't fit it in the frame. From that pole to that pole, those are the first two stories. 1, 2. Close up, wide angle. Look though, now pretend I'm looking up the side of a building. It's foreshortened to the top. Now all these poles are equally spaced, but they don't look like it in here because they're foreshortened because I'm close to the side here. But in a second I'm going to move just a little bit further away. Now look at the reverse of the foreshortening effect. As I gain a wider angle to that end. But look what happened here. All of a sudden those two sections fit in my frame. They've decreased in my field of view, while everything down there has increased in my field of view. I have a wider angle. I've reversed the foreshortening effect by moving further away. And yet, on these two sections, it decreased. Now I have these two first sections take a big chunk of my field of view. I can't even fit it in the frame. I have to turn my camera from side to side to fit it in. And everything's foreshortened again because I'm close.